Good morning and welcome to NTV this morning. My name is Olive Burrows and we stay on the COVID-19 story. In studio with me, we have a respiratory and infectious disease specialist, that is Dr. Joseph Alwoch. There will be a number on your screen for you to call with your questions, so you'll want to take it down. But first, let's take a look at the stories making the headlines. Now, the number of people who've tested positive for the coronavirus in the country now stands at 59, and that is after 9 people tested positive in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers is concerned that one of their own got infected while on duty, as NTV's Sharon Baranga now reports.
This is a health center in Ngara, Nairobi. Some people came snooping around after word went out that a health worker had tested positive for coronavirus. The clinic was evacuated and closed. Health workers play a critical role in the fight against coronavirus. Today, clinical officers confirmed that one of their own had actually tested positive to COVID-19. This is despite them always complaining that they did not have the right protective gear.
The clinical officer had been performing her duty in the outpatient and special clinic in her area of duty until she contracted this virus. You can all understand the anguish she is going through, knowing she may have infected her family member and other patients that she serves.
We are scaling up on acquisition of personal protective equipment for our health facilities countrywide. It is important for us to be aware that there is a global shortage of this personal protective equipment, and in this regard, the government is engaging with local manufacturers to be able to see how we can scale up our capacities.
And as the government scrambles to build capacity, the numbers of those infected is growing by the day. Today, 9 people tested positive, bringing the number of COVID-19 cases in the country to 59. The new cases are from Nairobi, Kilifi, Kiambu, and Mombasa counties.
Tracing of the contacts of the 59 confirmed cases is ongoing. So far, the total number of close contacts that we have so far been monitoring stands at 1,668. Out of this number, 508 have been discharged from contact follow-up process after completing the 14 days follow-up period. Currently, our teams are monitoring 1,160 close contacts of confirmed cases.
The government plans to convert some boarding schools into isolation centers in the event the coronavirus situation gets worse. Mbagathi Hospital is the main isolation center for patients who have tested positive. The government has also taken over Kenyatta University Hospital, and it's in the process of equipping it to boost capacity. Kenyans are urged to maintain high levels of hygiene as well as social distancing. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Counties are currently not prepared for a lockdown, and that is according to the Council of Governors Chairman Wycliffe Oparanya, who says if there must be one, it should be one only affected in hotspots and urban areas such as Nairobi and Mombasa. Do you agree, as doing it nationwide would be a challenge?
Do we have enough food to feed those people who will be staying at home? That becomes a big challenge. Can our economy support that? Those are some of the issues that we have to look at. You remember in India, they have tried this. People are rioting. They are coming out saying you cannot keep us in houses and you are not feeding us. It's not working. Even in South Africa, it's the same thing, especially for those who are very vulnerable, those who eat from day working and then they live hand to mouth on daily earnings that they get. That's what they eat on.
Senate has formed a 7-member ad hoc committee to oversee the actions and measures taken by the national and county governments in combating the coronavirus pandemic. Senate Majority Leader Kipchumba Murkomen has called on the National Assembly to form a similar committee so that they can have a joint sitting and take a common position on the pandemic, as Vincent Odor now reports.
The Senate Speaker Kenneth Makelolo.
This Tuesday, Senate resumed its plenary sittings after a 2-week recess to debate a motion on a comprehensive national response to the COVID-19 crisis. Only 28 designated senators were allowed in the chamber so as to keep the social distancing rule. The House resolved to establish the ad hoc committee that will address a number of matters, like provision of testing and medical equipment and isolation centers. Other issues include ICU facilities and measures needed to ensure continuous supply of food and other essential commodities at affordable prices. Senators are asking the national government to cushion Kenyans.
We congratulate the national government. We would like to encourage them to ensure that they keep the common mwananchi at heart, Mr. Speaker.
We need economic cushioning. Fuel prices must go down. World oil fuel has gone down by 40%. Palm prices have gone down by only 2 shillings. That needs to be looked at. I have a huge night economy in this city. DJs, waiters, bartenders, musicians, bouncers, taxi drivers, etc. need to be cushioned.
Mr. Speaker, only 3 counties have complied with isolation. Only 3. It's very sad. Only 3 counties in Kenya can do testing. Only. Certification can only be given to 3 counties: Kisumu, Machakos, and Mombasa. Why?
When you tell people to wash their hands, we must make sure that water is getting to where the populations are. In Kibera, in Madare, let us see the water and sanitizers, and also in the counties.
The senators also want to oversee resources allocated to fight COVID-19.
There are a lot of donors that are contributing money. Government is putting in a lot of money. And I think it's important for the committee to sit with the National Steering Committee and see how that money is allocated to the counties.
Senate also wants a joined-up response to COVID-19 by the 2 houses of Parliament.
It's not a moment for us to demonstrate supremacy battles. We have just initiated a process. And we have said, Mr. Speaker, to our brothers in the National Assembly, so that we have one united, joint position on the issues that are affecting the people of Kenya.
National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale has written to the Speaker of the House requesting for special sittings on Wednesday next week. One of the agenda will be laying of COVID-19 emergency fund regulations. Vincent Odor, NTV, Nairobi.
All right, and those are the headline stories as far as COVID-19 is concerned. That's where we stand. As soon as there are updates, as usual, NTV will be on top of that story. As I mentioned at the top, we are joined this morning by a respiratory and infectious disease specialist, and that is Dr. Joseph Alwot. We want to take your questions. If you have any questions as far as COVID-19 is concerned and how to protect yourself, and perhaps more detailed information on the symptoms. I know you've been told fever, continuous dry cough, and difficulty breathing, but if you'd like more detailed information on the symptoms, you can always call in. The number should be on your screen for you to take down and dial us in. Now, welcome to the program, Dr. Alwot. Happy to have you. Now, in that last report by Vincent Odor was of the Senate when it resumed sittings yesterday, and we saw some senators with all sorts of masks. I mean, and when you're looking at people coming on and off the ferry, they've been told they have to wear masks, but you see people even tying bandanas. They've improvised. Do these masks serve a purpose?
Yes, masks do have a purpose. Let's agree. But we should not take them as kind of a magic bullet, because some people feel that when they put on the mask, they're safe. The important thing about the mask, particularly in public places, outside the healthcare setting, is that they make somebody who's having COVID-19 virus less infectious. They do not actually protect you significantly from being infected by somebody. So putting the mask down makes sure you're safe, you'll not be infected. Because after all, we know very well that a lot of the infections go directly to the eye. So if you do have the mask that don't cover your eyes, then you are not safe. But the most important is the social distance. That has been proved beyond reasonable doubt to be the most effective way of reducing infection and reducing the epidemic. So having a mask itself without social distancing does not give you much protection.
Okay.
And then we have a problem that most of masks are handled badly. If you have a mask on the whole day, keep touching it, putting it in and out, at the end of the day, it gets contaminated, then you touch it, then you touch your eyes. You are really just accumulating infection on the mask and not preventing the mask. So we have, but basically, as been shown even in New York, you can use any piece of cloth properly done to protect you from spreading the virus.
Oh, really? That is quite
interesting.
Yes, okay.
In fact, now they prefer, there's no point crying that we don't have masks, we have to order masks. No, even the Bui, the Muslim, that is very effective in preventing the transmission of the droplets or the fomites.
But as far as healthcare workers, of course, it's critical personal protective equipment, and so perhaps we should not go and buy out all the masks and leave very few for the medical experts.
You know, there are two issues. There are some people who must obviously have a mask. One is those who are nursing people either at home who are proven coronavirus positive. Those should have masks because they're in danger, they're high risk. Another group is those who are working near the people who are having the virus. But the doctors are at special high risk, so they need not only the mask, but they also need face protection, that is spectacles, or other equipment that can also protect the eye, because you know very well that some of the infection actually go through the eye. And a lot of patients with COVID-19 do have present with conjunctivitis, that's inflammation of the eyes. And that shows you that the virus goes directly to the eyes.
Okay, and will any mask do?
For the eyes or for the...
You know, the one, not for the eyes, but...
Yes, for stopping transmission of the virus, there are some any mask can do, but from protecting you, you need the N95 mask. That is the one that does not allow much infection to come through.
Okay.
But so that's why you see the medical workers would be preferred to use N95 mask, which is a bit tight and covers you well.
Okay, but that makes sense now for the caregivers and the medical personnel.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, you talk about social distancing, and much ado has been made about this social distancing. First of all, is it 1.5 meters? Is it 2 meters? What is this distance that's supposed to be between two people?
Has been established and recommended by the renowned Center for Communicable Diseases is 6 feet. Now, you can call it in meters or whatever, but it's 6 feet. It's safe distance because we've shown that after 6 feet, most of these droplets will fall on a surface on the ground. At the moment they fall on a surface, they achieve a size which is more than 5 microns. This is not respirable material. It does not go deep into your lungs to cause infection, because for these droplets to cause infection, they must go deep down at the bottom of the lungs, called the alveolar, and they must honestly be less than 5 microns in diameter to be effectively traveling down to the lungs. So that's what happens at the distance. You know.
So 6 feet. I mean, for the average person, what is that? Like, how would you describe it? Is it an arm's length?
Yes, that's easily.
Okay.
Yeah, both arms length, not just one arm.
Both arms length.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, but we've had talk of aerosol, that somebody could cough or sneeze, and then the virus could sit in the air, or rather float in the air for a period of time.
There are three modes of transmission of this virus commonly. One, of course, is the aerosol. Another one is just contact that is touching the surface. And the other one is, of course, the droplet infection, okay? Of course, the aerosol is the most important aspect of transmitting virus, respiratory virus. So even talking, laughing, and sneezing. When you sneeze, you probably release thousands of virus in one good sneeze, and which remain suspended in the air, and which are looking for a surface on which they can enter the body. Fortunately, most organisms cannot enter through contact, intact skin, unless your skin has been cut or you are bleeding, but intact skin does not permit entry of organisms, including the virus and bacteria. But your mucous membrane, that is the eyes, the bottom of the eyes, where you normally scratch, your mouth or your nose, these are easily accessible to virus so that they can go into the bloodstream and cause disease.
Okay, so if somebody coughs, I've kept my social distance, but I come in, I walk in after them, am I still susceptible?
What do you mean by susceptible?
If a person who has COVID-19 coughs, and we've talked about the aerosol, yeah, we are saying the droplets can stay suspended in the air. Am I at risk even if I keep my social distance?
Yes. Okay, you may be at risk because you've been shown that some of these virus remain suspended in the air for longer than we thought. And more so in the surfaces, it's been shown that depending on the surface, whether it's copper, carton box, it can remain as long as from 3 hours to 3 days on the surface. That is why it's important to do this so-called spraying of the street. You see them spraying. Because when people walk and cough on the street and you go and touch some of the walls or or whatever is on the street, you touch those surfaces which may contain the virus. Okay. So there's a lot to be known about this virus. Let's agree.
Okay.
Although it's taken 100 years for us to have this experience, you may recall that it was 1918, that's 100 years ago, that we had a more serious, the same class, same family of viruses, that was called pandemic, it was called Spanish flu, which killed about 50 million people.
Before we get into detail on the Spanish flu, because I want to come back to that, we do have a caller, and we have Martin from Trans-Nzoia on the line. Martin, you can go ahead and ask your question.
No, it's not Martin, it's Benedict.
My question was going like this.
Martin, can you hear me? Martin, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay. What's your question?
My question? If you are going to be locked down at a house from no movement, how are we going to be given all the basic needs like food, shelter, and clothing from the county government and from the national government? How are we going to get these things even if we are going to be locked on house with no movement? Thanks.
Okay, Martin, I think that's a question best directed at the government, and we will direct that question at them when they have their press briefing this afternoon. All right, we have Benedict. Is it from Donholm? Benedict, what's your question for the doctor?
I have two questions for the doctor. Question number one is about mask.
Okay.
Few months ago, last year, I bought this gas mask for Mandamano.
Yes.
A big mask for the Mandamano. So during the Mandamano ODM political rallies, so wakati wa tear gas, nikivanga hiyo mask, sikuwa nasikia anything. I was okay because nilikuwa na big goggles pia. So my question was, can I also use this mask as to prevent this COVID-19? Simply, why I'm asking that, the normal mask they are selling, the medic one, inaharibika haraka. Ukiangalia, sisi tunaweza tumia leo na kesho kutwa. Yes, this mine, nikivaa naweza ivaa wiki moja and I clean it. Question number two, this COVID-19, yes, is a virus. Okay, we rely on medic. Kitambo when we were in Ushago, we normally, ukiwa na malaria, easy symptoms, easy COVID-19, we used to drink mwarubaine. And there is this leaf which we call the kecha. I think he knows the leaf. Ukikunywa ukiwa na hizo symptoms wanasema ni za coronavirus, ilikuwa inaisha within a day and you are okay. So those are my questions for the doc.
All right, thank you very much. That's Benedict from Donholm. We have Kantai from Samburu as well. Kantai, what is your question for the doctor? All right, we seem to have lost him. Kantai, do please call us back. We're going to take your question next, but first let's give Benedict an answer. He says he got a gas mask for the mandamano, and these other masks, you know, don't last very long. Is it okay if he cleans his gas mask and reuses it? Will it work for him?
At the moment, we don't have so-called reusable or sanitizable masks, and most of the masks you see people use in public, it's recommended that don't use them for more than 8 hours. If you keep them on for 8 hours, then they're probably not serving much protection purposes. And most of the masks you use are not reusable. Okay, whatever you used during that mandamano, if it protected him, then it's just like using a handkerchief, a piece of cloth. So why not? It will work. Oh yeah.
Why not?
If it works, yeah. The bottom line is to protect you from getting the aerosols, but above all, protect you from transmitting the virus if you have it, that is. Okay,
Kantai is back on the line. Kantai from Samburu, what is your question for the doctor?
My name is Kantai from Samburu. Okay. I just finished up my 14-day quarantine today because we traveled last Wednesday in the morning at around 6. One of the questions that I would like to ask the doctor is, what can you do really to protect the older? You know, I know it's possible for anyone to get any age, but if you look at the rate in Italy, UK, where it came from, a lot of people are dying at over 60. What can we do to protect them? I was thinking that the government shouldn't put the curfew at 7, because of course the virus doesn't spread by the darkness, but also I understand that it caps it. But what can you do for these 60 and above people?
All right, that's a very good question.
Yes.
Dr. That is Kantai from Samburu. But before we get to his questions, we still need to finish with Benedict. So you said, if it serves the purpose of protecting your eyes, your nose, your mouth, go ahead. All right, you have your answer on that one, Benedict. The second question he had was on Mwarubaini. He says, Mwarubaini 40, even from the 40 can cure perhaps 40 ailments. Is it a possible cure for COVID-19?
Okay, that question scientifically may be difficult to comment on, but at the moment, the COVID virus, the scientific world is very desperate. We have not yet hit the right cure, so anything can be tried. If he has got sufficient information about that product, I'm sure the scientist would like to try it. We cannot write it off just like that, because anything can be tried. But the sad thing is that, for example, chloroquine was tried during the Spanish flu 100 years ago. It didn't work so well, and then the doctors made the biggest mistake. They never followed up on serious research to improve chloroquine and its effect on viral diseases. So 100 years ago, we were just the same as we were in 1918, still talking about chloroquine. Is it working? Is it not working? And now in America, they've given kind of emergency permission for it to be tried.
Yes.
So now we're going to have results of a controlled trial on the use of chloroquine in COVID, probably, which is something we should have done 100 years ago.
All right, so we can't rule it out. We can't rule out.
No, we cannot rule out anything at the moment. No, we have no reason to rule about. In fact, a lot of discoveries are made when you probably ignored what would work. Yes.
All right. Okay, let's get to the questions posed by Kantai. He's talked about having just finished his 14-day quarantine, and then went ahead to ask about how we can protect the elderly.
Is what has been said 100 times, that is social distancing. And in Europe, they told that people over 60, certainly even over 70, stay at home. Don't go out at all time. There are a lot of other precautions you may have, but nothing will be more efficient of protecting you than social distancing, particularly if you've got some comorbid condition. They've been given, it's been shown that also if you have flu vaccination or pneumonia, you prevent the complication, but you do not prevent you from getting the COVID. Although if you get the COVID, it may not be as bad if you have some of these vaccinations. But at the moment, what you do with the old men, keep away from them. And the best thing you can do is not to visit these old men in the village. If you're in quarantine, let him keep away from any old man that he likes, unless he wants to get rid of that old man, then he can go near him.
Oh my, okay.
Because even after so-called quarantine, or even though people have been cured, it's been shown that so-called cured patients are capable of transmitting infection even 8 days after they've been declared cured.
All right, really?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to come back on the asymptomatic phase and whether or not you're still able to transmit the virus when you're at the asymptomatic phase of things. But first, let's go to Rongo, where we have Bernard Ojwang. And he tells us that the authorities are closing down bars and salons. Is it, Bernard?
Well, thank you very much. Since morning, it has been a running battle between traders here in Rongo and the police. And this is just one of the ways of intensifying the fight against COVID-19. And of course, it is an order that was given by Governor Okoth Obado last week that all markets in Migori County be closed. And of course, today as we speak, since morning, 6 a.m. in the morning, all shops has been, the police have been moving around, closing all shops. And as we speak currently, all barber shops, salons, food kiosks, and also boutiques have been closed down. And even the market here, just next to me here, is closed. And of course, traders are saying that this is where they are getting money, and they are appealing to the governor and also the police, at least to leave them do something so that they can also get something that will put on the table when it comes in the evening, where they will be ensuring that the Kenyans are adhering or obeying the rule that the curfew. And currently, without wasting time, you'll just allow me talk to one of the traders here just to get what they are saying. Okay, it has been a battle between you and the police. What's happening?
Sisi tunafanya business, tumefungwa soko, hatuwezi hata kuuza vitu. Tuko na njaa, serikali watusaidie sisi, watuletee chakula tukae naye kwa ndani. Sisi hatuwezi kukimbia, wa polisi wanatuchapa sisi, hata saa hii tumesatuchapia kwa na fimbo. Hatuwezi kufanya
soko imefungwa.
Soko imefungwa, corona iko nyingi, sisi tunakuwa na njaa, hatuwezi hata kukula, watoto tuko nao kwa nyumba. Sasa sisi ni wananchi, tunakula nini? Serikali tusaidie sisi. Hakuna chenye tuna nini tunaweza kukula. Tunakula nini serikali jamani, tusaidie sisi. Tulichapwa saa hii asubuhi.
Asante sana. You've just heard from them. They are saying that the governor, Migori County Governor Okoth Obado, will come up with a solution, and they are saying that they are law-abiding citizens, and they are trying at least to make a living on a daily here at the market, and they are now asking the governor at least to review the stand and enable them get something daytime, so that when it comes to evening hours, they will be obeying the curfew rule. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Bernard. The question that lady just raised in terms of what does the government, or how does the government expect us to feed ourselves and our children if they're closing our businesses, was also posed by our first caller this morning. Hopefully, we'll get an answer from the government on that particular question. All right, we also have Martin Maura, in Murang'a County. Martin tells us there are also closures in that county. Martin, what's going on?
Yes, thank you so much. It's a bright Wednesday morning here from County 021. As you have rightly said, in a normal day, this stage would be full of matatus that are heading towards the neighboring county of Sagana. But today in the morning, we have just received communication from the county government that they have decided to close it down, simply because they're saying this terminus, the matatu terminus, they are not adhering to the regulations that have been set aside. Without taking much time, I just want to talk to the person in charge of the enforcement, just to tell us why they have decided to close it today. 1 minute only. Just tell us, start with your name and tell us why you have decided to close this terminus today.
Thank you very much. My name is Samuel Mwangi, aka Kefeti. I'm in charge of this enforcement from the county government. We have decided to shut down or to close this terminus because it is this stage, the matatu are failing people from Kirinyaga to Murang'a, Embu, Karatina, and for the last 5 days, this matatu has not been adhering to the rules and regulation, carrying 8 passengers. Second, we have decided to halt all transport outside Murang'a County. Moreover, we cannot take more chances, and we cannot wait and see our people dying. We have closed down this stage, and this is not a joke. And anybody who will go against this rule or contravene, we will cancel the TLB. We are in coordination with the national government through the county commissioner, and our governor is very clear that we must protect our people. We have also closed down those food defenders who sells food at the wrong side, the roadsides. And from today, business, it will not be business as usual, because even the markets, people from Kagio, they come to Mokoyo, and we can't ignore it more again. Now, what we are saying is, Murang'a County, led by Governor Mongo area, we are very clear that watu wakae nyumbani.
Thank you so much. I can even see from the message behind your jacket here, it says, if I can be able to see, turn this way, it says, stay at home, kaa nyumbani, no iratu. Thank you so much. Olive, those are some of the few things that the county is trying to do just to ensure that this disease is not reported here in Murang'a County. And the governor yesterday has been making calls asking the county government, the national government, to please ensure that stop all matatus plying in the inter-counties. He's saying that if can be stopped, then the spread can be stopped. It is easier to deal with the disease when it is local than when it is being spread through the public service vehicles. Those are some of the few things that the county government is doing. And he has rightly said, yes, they also are closing the markets. Food vendors have been told to go home. You know, there will be a lot of job losses, job cuts. Even people who are self-employed will be affected. But I think it is better to save a life. You know, as people say, we can recover the economy, you can recover a business, but you cannot recover a life lost. That is from Murang'a. Back to you, Olive.
Thank you, Martin. Dr. You know, we saw the gentleman there wearing the lab coat with "Stay at Home" printed behind it. So people are at home. Can COVID-19 be transmitted through sex?
No, but no, it's possible. We've seen the COVID virus has been discovered, isolated in feces, and it's possible since sex, you have mucous membrane contact. Biologically, it would be possible, but epidemiologically, it has not been established to be a major route. At the moment, it's a respiratory disease, not a sexual transmitted disease. And respiratory diseases are essentially aerosol transmitted. So let's stay away from sex at the moment and stick on the respiratory spread.
Kissing, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's contact.
All right. Okay.
Membranes.
Okay. So how different? We've talked about a gentleman who says he quarantined himself for 14 days. He's just come out of it. So if you're displaying, okay, how are the COVID-19 symptoms different from the normal HOMA symptoms?
Funny enough, they're not very different, except in the severity. It's the same, the sneezing, the coughing, the fever, the headache, the sore throat. It's just the severity. Now, this group of virus, there's the same family. If you take the so-called SARS, that is severe acute respiratory distress syndrome, which was also in Asia, or Middle East respiratory syndrome, MARS, they all have the same symptoms. And in fact, they're in the same group. It's the severity and the effect on the people they affect. That is on the mortality. That is the major difference. In fact, that's why I say that, because with the other diseases, you got a bit of immunity, limited immunity after the infection. So at the moment, we can extrapolate scientifically that those who have recovered from COVID-19 should have some protection from reinfection, at least in the short time. How long this will last, time will tell. But at the moment, if you go by natural history of infection.
So if you survive it, you should develop an immunity to it?
Yes, because the same group of viruses we've seen, you develop immunity to the others.
Okay.
So this can be expected.
All right.
Of course, it's not 100% immunity, but it's a measure of immunity. The difference with COVID virus is that the incubation period is very long. Most viruses have got 24 hours incubation period. Now, during this incubation period, most people do not have symptoms, and they keep infecting persons. Okay. Then the worst thing is that even after so-called being cured, you're still capable of infecting other people. So
you said for up to 8 days, is it?
Yeah, up to 8 days. This has been shown in some studies.
Wow, so that's interesting. So you still need to stay away from other people for an additional 8 days?
According to current evidence, yes, safely to stay away from people. Even after you've been declared cured, you don't go to a jam and start taking champagne in the public, say, now I'm safe, no.
All right. So part of the problem that has presented itself, as you said, with the coronavirus is that you can be asymptomatic for a longer period than is usual with these types of viruses. Because I remember the health CS, was being taken to task. He was being asked, you're saying you're screening people at the airport, but then later on they import COVID-19 into the country. So can you still spread the virus even at that asymptomatic stage?
Well, of course you do. That has been the problem. And this is where they were caught in Asia and America. Because originally they said that they are going only to screen people who are symptomatic test. Then they realized that they are missing a lot of infectious cases. So that's why they say now you screen all contact, symptoms or no symptoms. And in Germany, they're almost screening almost anybody who offered. Because they realized that if you go by symptoms, the so-called high index, those people are already on contact, or those who are staying with positive cases, you may miss a lot of people who have the disease and yet they don't have the symptom. So if you got a slight history of travel or staying in the vicinity with somebody with COVID, symptoms, no symptoms, ideally should be tested.
Okay. Again, just remind you that you can call in. There should be a number on the screen which you can use to dial in. Dr. How has COVID-19 changed how you practice medicine?
Most of all, it scared me to the hell. So I've stopped practicing medicine now. At the moment, I'm not, because of my age, I'm advised to stay away from the hospital. As a respiratory physician, I see a lot of people who cough. And we know that COVID presents with coughs. So that means that I refrain from treating my usual patients who cough because I don't know who is having COVID or not. So it's suddenly changed practicing medicine. At the moment, I don't practice any medicine. I can't afford. Yeah, I leave it for younger people, okay? Because me, if I get a COVID...
Are we not missing out on your expertise then?
I can give it orally. Yes, I can.
But
a lot of this, now we are going into the age of artificial intelligence. In fact, they already started using artificial intelligence to make diagnosis of COVID, particularly in the CT scan. And in the future, we're going to develop robots to do a lot of these procedures, because robots are not scared of infection, being infected. So it will reduce the scare from a lot of healthcare workers who are afraid of being in contact with the infectious cases because they can be infectious. We know they're dying. They always died over the years, infectious diseases. So, but we'll be very slow in developing high-powered robots that can take over a lot of. But we know in 30 years, artificial intelligence is going to take over a lot of work from the doctors.
Okay.
Not everything, yeah.
All right. So part of the fear that surrounds COVID-19, there was some concern that it could cause some permanent damage to your respiratory system. Has that been shown to be true?
Yeah, that's true. It does. That's for sure. And the fact that you have been cured of COVID does not make you sure that your lungs are free. As we say, it's a primary respiratory condition. It does leave some permanent damage or long-standing damage. Yes, it does cause.
So what kind of damage?
The lung is called pulmonary fibrosis. It reduces or destroys your lung tissues and reduces its efficiency in churning out in and out oxygen and carbon dioxide.
Okay, so lifelong, does it leave you susceptible to other viruses, or what does that?
Yes, it leads you susceptible to other infections, including other viruses, and above all, it may lead to chronic respiratory failure.
Well, that's quite serious. All more the
and most so you've already had damaged lungs, say from TB or asthma or chronic bronchitis.
Okay, all right. So you've talked about the CT scanning.
Yeah.
So how do they detect the virus using that equipment?
No, it's the features that you see on the CT scan. Because if you see an X-ray or a CT scan from somebody who's got TB, you'll be able to say that that features you see on the CT scan are from TB or from any cancer of the lung or from other infection. So same thing, high use of CT scan of the lung has shown that there are some specific features which you see when the COVID affects the lung. And now they already programmed artificial intelligence to detect those things. And you know, when it comes to reading of the most or some CT scan, artificial intelligence is more efficient than the human radiologist. And they're likely to produce more reliable results. And they do it in a shorter time. They do many cases in a shorter time. It's a question of volume. Because it depends on background data. You know, at the moment, there's so much information about COVID-19. The Journal of American Medical Association, which prints some of the highest medical information in the world, now receives about 1,000 papers every day for printing of all this, considered for printing of COVID-19 from all over the world. That shows you how much work people are doing at the moment. The medical information is going at such a stage that no normal human beings will be able to cope with this knowledge. And that's why artificial intelligence will come in, because it can cope with so much information that comes in every day, which most doctors cannot cope with, as much as they may pretend.
Okay, so the government, you know, there's been this whole debate about perhaps there could be more numbers. It's just a question of they haven't been tested yet. How does that testing process work? What are they testing for? How is it a swab? How does it work?
Yeah, at the moment, the most effective way is most common use is the nasal swab and the back of the throat, the pharyngeal swab is used. But now they develop some tests in America, which is based on so-called gene expert, which can also even use the blood, but unfortunately it cannot be used on a large scale. Now it's limited, because it takes only 45 minutes to get the result back. But they only used to triage patients. That's it's already patients who are already in the ward and already highly suspected, or health care workers who wants to go into nurse a patient, but they want to know whether they're positive before they start nursing those COVID patients.
Right.
So you can go do that test and get your report in less than an hour.
In less than an hour.
But not yet.
Allow me to take one question, then we come back to that. All right. We have Austin from Buruburu. Austin, you can go ahead.
Yes. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I have just one question. I'm sorry, I just tuned in late. But I don't know that the doctor has just taken us through it. I just want to know, one, if the person who was tested and became positive, he has gone through the medication, is it there's a possibility of the same person, once has recovered, can he be positive again after recovery? That's one.
Okay.
Two, maybe can I know how does this disease, this virus kill? I've never understood once you got the virus, what brings about killing? How does it kill?
How does it kill? How the virus kills? Okay. Are you done? Sorry?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right. We also have Ongoro from Kibra. Ongoro, what's your question?
Okay. My question is, I just have only one question.
Okay.
Okay. We are being told that the mask that we are using are alcohol-based. So my question is, why can't we use the alcohol that we know, so that maybe we dip the ordinary cloth or the mask that has been used, like the doctor is saying that we use it for 8 hours, then we dip it again in the alcohol, then we use it. What is the problem with that? Can it be effective?
Okay, sorry, can you please, if you could just please reduce the volume on your TV and then ask the question again. I didn't get you clearly.
Okay. The question is, I just only have one question.
Okay.
We are being told that the mask we are using is alcohol-based.
Uh-huh.
So the question is, can we use the ordinary alcohol that you know, the spirit that you know?
Okay.
Dip the cloth.
Uh-huh.
Or the mask that has been used, we can dip it in the alcohol, then we reuse it.
Okay. All right. I've got you. Thank you very much.
Is this possible?
All right, Ongoro. The doctor will answer you just in a few moments. Back first to, we had a caller from Buruburu, and his second question was, I think, how does he's not understood how COVID-19 kills.
Oh, it's very simple, and you can get it from its name. You know, the proper name is SARS-2. Now, SARS stands for Severe Acute Respiratory Distress Syndrome. And that does kill. In short, you die because of respiratory failure. That is why we keep singing about the ventilators, because these people are going to respiratory failure, they stop breathing. And in the meantime, they cannot be held by a ventilator. So in short, it kills you by respiratory failure. It may be other complications may occur, but that's the commonest mode of death, pure, if you just due to SARS, is respiratory failure.
So do you mean you suffocate? Or?
Well, your respiratory system is destroyed by the virus, by severe inflammation. You know, it's an inflammatory process. Severe inflammation that will no longer be capable of taking in and out air that you need, oxygen and carbon dioxide, respectively. And then if you don't breathe, you can get fresh air into your blood system, then you can survive. That's why you have to use the machine, the ventilators. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's not like it's strangulating you. This is a physiological process. Okay. Yeah.
So literally it strangles you.
Well, if you think of it simply, it's like literally strangling you, so you can't get oxygen.
You can't take in air.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And your blood does not get oxygenated, so you go into respiratory failure. That is mean your body doesn't have oxygen in the blood system, and so you cannot function. And oxygen is like the petrol that drives all the activities in your body.
Okay, yeah. So that's why there's so much, a lot of noise going around the ventilator.
Yes, exactly.
And ICU beds.
Because those who are severely sick and eventually die, they die because of respiratory failure.
Okay, yeah. So that's perhaps for lacking access to the ventilator.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so his first question had to do with if you test positive and then you're given the drugs, can you test positive again?
We don't know, but it's possible. But what we know now, because the current tests available are not 100% perfect. It has been shown that quite a number of fellows who come in and they test for the first time negative, yet they have the virus in the system. If they be followed up after a few months, and it's recommended that maybe some of these people should repeat their test after about 7 days, then we found that they're positive. So, although if it is negative, doesn't say 100% that you are negative. If it is positive, then you are likely to be infected. Okay.
Okay, but he talked of drugs, but this is a virus. So the patients who have presented with COVID-19 and have been admitted, how are they being treated?
What is known as supportive treatment? Because I said clearly, the COVID virus is, first of all, it promotes other infection, even bacterial infection in the system. It interferes with the kidney function. It interferes with the GIT, may cause diarrhea and the rest, get you dehydrated. So you get supportive, and you get fluids, electoral, then you get treatment for antibiotics for ordinary bacterial infection. but there's no specific treatment for the virus itself. This is just supporting. This is a kind of damage control. Okay, just controlling the damage is causing to keep you survival. That's hence the ventilation. The ventilation is not killing the virus. It's just ventilator. It's just going to help you breathe because the virus has destroyed your breathing system. So with ventilators, you'll be able to sustain yourself until the virus becomes less in your system and you're able to take over.
Okay, so why are those of an advanced age particularly susceptible? What is it about them? It's
purely immunity. Okay, as you grow older, your immunity becomes less. And let's agree. At the end of the day, whatever you use, whether it's antibiotic, whatever medicine, it cannot work as efficient if your body does not work well. It's like having very good, powerful military weapons, fighters, but you don't have the personnel to man them, okay? So you can have very good, powerful drugs, antiviral, that will work. But if the body immunity does not help these drugs to work, then you're not going to achieve the desired results. So it's short equivalent immunity to the body, which is a natural way, nature's way of helping you. After all, over the years, we've survived without medicine. We survived all these, some of us survived all this infection without having to have any antibiotics or other medicine.
Okay. Ongoro's question from Kibra. And he asked, can we use just normal alcohol, first of all? People have made this huge joke of it, they screw caps on it and then they're like, if just use the normal alcohol to spray, it's cheaper than hand sanitizer. So first of all, can you use it to sanitize? Vodka
alcohol on its own?
Yes.
You need a lot of alcohol base. Alcohol on its own may actually be very uncomfortable and very, actually may even hurt you on its own. So you need it with a bit of soap or other sanitizer. You need up to 60% alcohol maximum to sanitize. But 100% alcohol, why would you use it anyway when you go to alternatives, when you can make the alternative? Now you don't change a winning horse. We know that the other standards work as well, so we can use it.
Okay, so I don't need to go to a wines and spirits. It's not interchangeable with hand sanitizer?
No.
It's not?
You can drink it.
But is it effective in terms of sanitization? No, it's not. It's not effective. No. Okay, and he also talked about dipping the masks, because you've told us you should not wear your mask for more than 8 hours.
Those masks should be disposable. The best thing, dispose and get another one. Yes.
Okay, and how do you remove the mask?
Yes, in fact, shortly we'll be showing a video. We'll make a video to show the people how to put on the mask and how to remove it and how not to touch it. Because if you keep touching it and then touching your eyes, and if there's some droplets on the mask, it's not very useful. And most even the gloves, people are very happy going to the supermarket and using gloves. And they keep it on the whole day, and then they feel they look like some scientists at work, and they're just deceiving themselves. You probably spread more infection.
Really? Because I've seen that in the mall. You'll see the security guards with gloves. I don't know how often they change them.
Yeah, all those things. See, let us agree and let's not deceive the public. In this COVID virus, all this fine equipment, all these measures will not work unless you keep social distancing. Full stop. Okay. Social distancing will stop you from spreading the virus and will stop you from receiving the virus if you don't have it. And that, at the moment, is a proven fact. And let us stress it, okay? And let's not divert the attention of people from social distancing by bringing these side shows of use of gloves and glorifying the use of masks. Okay, masks are good. But in public places, on the streets, I can see many people, even I'm sure some of you in the studio use it, they are not 100% useful. Okay, they may be useful if you have the disease yourself, you stop it from spreading, but it's not something that we should glorify at all.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You mentioned the wrong impression.
Okay. And also how you take off the gloves matters.
Everything, even how you take off your apron. Because, you know, even the cleaners, when you are nursing COVID virus, even those who will clean the floor, even those who are giving them food, and all those other paramedical staff working, they must also be shown how to put on and take out the personal protective equipment. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You mentioned the Spanish flu as perhaps the last epidemic we dealt with of similar proportion. What lessons can we take away from that?
Funny enough, we took nothing. Funny enough, we only cried about it. That's why I told you, for example, we tried chloroquine. It worked in some cases, but we never followed it further in other viruses. Because the same virus family, H1N1, that was caused the pandemic in Spanish flu. And we learned all about the epidemiology and the infection spread. But then it died, and then we went relaxed. We just look at the glorified. Later we be considered a non-communicable disease or non-infectious disease. Because with the advent of antibiotics and effective antimicrobial, we relaxed, said, okay, we have defeated infection. Now let's look for non-infectious disease. That's why every time we're being caught unawares, because we're concentrating on high-power diseases like heart attack, diabetes, and the rest, and we paid very little attention to infectious diseases because we thought we are done
with them. All right. Dr. I can see we need some water, but we are almost done. If we can get some water, Henry.
What happened to my coffee?
Yeah, it's there, but it's branded. Yes. Finally, we are being told, how do we defeat it? Because we are being told, okay, we need to flatten the curve. And the way to flatten the curve, for example, in Kenya, we are being told, don't come out between the hours of 7 p.m. and 5 a.m. In different jurisdictions, group 3 is a crowd, is what they've been told. If you're going to work out, you need to work out alone and, within certain limitations. Is this the way to beat the virus?
Exactly. We know very well that this virus causes problem, first of all, because it's got a long incubation period, okay? And then sometimes it takes a long time before we discover one is positive. And then even after discovery, it may take a long time before you put them into isolation. And during this period, they're infectious. So we need to do all these things. Incubation period, do quarantine, okay? Reduce social distancing. So reduce infection chances. Those who already have symptoms, test as many as possible. Test, do 3 things. Test, and if they're positive, do the necessary. Isolation, okay. So you have to do these things. And in all these things, each of them will need social distancing from those who are already infected or those who don't know infected. And there's no shortcut for the moment. If you don't do that, you get nowhere. I mean, the whole world can be wrong. Everybody is doing social distancing. Everybody.
So in your mind, how much longer do we have to do this? Because, of course...
At the moment, the projection in the world, that it will be maybe up to June, July, for it to flatten out.
June, July.
Yeah.
All right.
So you think of the next 3 months. If you think shorter than that, good luck.
3 months.
Minimum.
Of paralysis.
Yeah, this is already computer projection epidemiologically.
All right, there you have it. Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Alwoch. We need to get the good doctor some water. Thank you so much for your questions this morning and for your company. We hope to engage you further because clearly if we're going to go through 3 months of this, there are so many questions that will come up even as more research is conducted. That's it for me. NTV Sasa coming your way at 11 a.m.
This is NTV.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Basic protective measures as guided by the World Health Organization. Clean hands frequently with soap and clean water. Cover nose and mouth when coughing and sneezing with a tissue or flexed elbow. Avoid close contact 1 meter or 3 feet with anyone with cold or flu-like symptoms. If you have fever, cough and difficulty breathing, seek medical care early. Avoid raw or uncooked animal products. Help the world put an end to the spread of respiratory diseases by sharing this message with a friend. Message brought to you by Sour Herbal Family Bath Soap.
Working from home? No problem. Fiber Home has you covered with the fastest and most reliable internet speeds. Get connected today. Kazi lazima iendelee.
Atipasi ya ngirota iko kwa krabi ya Girotas.
Bashkani kwa Crotas.
Sasa nimefungua hoteli hapa Kawangware na nilikuwa nataka ukuna ni supply vitu za soko. And then tunaongea biashara, unaona aje?
Nani alikufungulia biashara? Ni Crotas.
Mtu wangu unaona wewe na Einstein mnapelekana hivi. Nywele kuchanganyikiwa color clashing ndio hiyo. Wewe mmeweza
bana. Kwa genius.
Molfix's breathable surface, developed with airsoft technology, is very soft and provides the best Molfix skincare.
I found the best diaper for my baby's sensitive skin.
All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
NTV and PesaLink, the most efficient way to send money, have a message for you. We know you need to stay home and stay safe for yourself, the ones you love, and for Kenya. But that does not mean you can't work or do business. Use PesaLink for all your payment and banking needs from the safety of your phone or laptop. Stay safe, stay home. Business goes on with PesaLink.
NTV, turning on your world. The following program has been rated GE. It is therefore suitable for general family viewing.
Tell you a secret to this you are sworn about a magical elephant born. Saw the baby LDI, we've got some grapes, this one's got stripes. He can't stay with us, no. He absolutely must go. He should be someplace else. This we know. So the baby named Zumba was then all alone, but he met Quincy the monkey.
I'm pretty weird on my own.
Quincy spoke of a legend. Well, I'll tell you it's true. It's a weird kind of zoo, full of many like you. So they left on a journey. They'll get there tomorrow. They finally found the hidden valley near Kilimanjaro. So when you feel you don't belong, look to the sky, sorry.